Oh my God.
Hello all, you're tuned into the All My Friends podcast, the show that chats about music, nightlife issues and club culture. We're based in Manchester, but like to chat about things happening everywhere, not just in the rainy city. I'm the host, Liam Oliver, and my guest today is the other half of Son of Bangers, head honcho at Manchester Club Night Sticky Heat, and he's also a proud parent. If that sounds like it's a lot to juggle, then that's probably because it is, and that is exactly the thing we're going to be covering today on the podcast. Being a parent is the time you're supposed to grow up, in air quotes, I suppose, right? You know, no more time for running club nights. You know, you've got proper adult shit to do. That's probably the opinion of a lot of the UK public, but we're going to be unpicking that mentality today. And we'll be chatting about juggling the demands of organising DJ riders and hotels with nappies, the school run and the bedtime routine. I'm really excited to be speaking with our guest today. He's an AMF Mix alumni and great DJ. If you haven't guessed who he is yet, I'm pleased to introduce Marco Giannini. Hello, Marco. How are you?
Not too bad. How about yourself? You okay?
Yeah, really good. About to enjoy a really nice Saturday with friends. Really happy and excited to be doing the show as well. I always like recording on Saturday. It's something to look forward to at the end of the week. And it's just nice being able to sit down with, you know, other DJs and promoters and chat about fun things. So yeah, I am having a great time. And it's great to have you on the show today. We're going to be talking a lot about promoting and parenting, balancing the two, and I suppose, you know, keeping the DJ dream alive through parenthood, as it were. But before we start and dive into all that, can you start and tell us a bit about your musical journey and your background? You know, when did you start DJing, and what's your DJ journey look like from, you know, when you first picked up a record or touched a CDJ to now?
Yeah, I guess like a lot of people, I got into it when I was at university and used a student loan to buy my first set of 1210s. That was back in 2000, I think it was. It was when I was at university in Leeds. I was quite lucky to get a residency at a kind of a legendary club called Speed Queen, where I was there for about 3 or 4 years. Moved back to Manchester and started a breaks night called Show No Shame. That ran for about 2 years. We had people like James Abela and Adam Freeland and Evil Nine playing at that. That night caught the attention of the guys at Sankey's, and they approached me to do a monthly tribal sessions with Andro. So we would do the tribal all-nighters. So he would take care of the main room and I'd be in the soap bar once a month, programming the night there. After my first year at Sankey's, the team, Sasha, Sam, Kirsty, came up with the idea of the Warehouse Project, and they took me with them. So I was one of the original DJs at the Warehouse Project when I was at Boddington's, and I was there for 3 years. So I did the full year at Bodies and 2 years at Store Street. I was on the, I think I was the first one of the first DJ to play at the Warehouse Projects, because it was year one, day one, John Digweed party. Then after I left the Warehouse Project, I was obviously engaged, I settled down and just decided to kind of just take a little break from it. I just kind of maybe getting a little, maybe jaded with the scene a little bit. I just decided I just want to kind of take a step back and focus on other things, like say getting married and, you know, looking to, you know, start having a family and things. And it was a never say never, but at the time I just felt it was a good time to kind of just step back and, you know, move away from the scene a bit. So I took a break for about 4 years. And then one night when I was out with friends, we went to a night called Girls on Film at Deaf Institute. And I just had such a good night there. I was like, oh, I need to get back into it. The kind of bug was there. By that time, my daughter Karina was about 1 or 2. So it was kind of, the first year was kind of out of the way. And I was kind of looking at, you know, getting my social life and things back in order again. And Hattie, who runs Girls on Film, I dropped her an email and just like, on the off chance, would you consider, you know, getting me on? And she was brilliant and brought me on board. And I was a resident there for a couple of years, and that's what started everything again. And I co-ran a night with a few of the guys called Lost in Music. Joshua Brooks. We did that for a couple of years and had people like Lindstrom and Egyptian Lover playing for us. And it was around about the time, it was the time that we did the Lindstrom party at Joshua Brooks. So I was like, kind of feel like I want to be doing this myself and not, kind of being part of someone else's night, so to speak. So the kind of idea was formulating, but I was just a bit, with having a daughter and being married, I was a bit like, I know that these are not, putting a night on isn't something you do with the idea that you're going to make loads of money from it. So there was the weighing up whether it's something that I could still do, when I was like 41, 42, or, whether that moment had passed. And I was chatting to my wife, and she kind of, there was like a penny drop moment for me, really, which was like, well, you're right. We don't want to be wasting money that we're earning, when we've got a family to provide for. Which says you do loads of DJing work and loads of bar work. Why don't you just put all that aside and use it to launch your own thing? So that's kind of when everything clicks into place. And then Sticky Heat came about. And originally it was myself and one of my best mates, Chris Massey. We did a party at Gorilla with Lindstrom. We brought him back again to do a live set. And then obviously the world flipped and everything went on pause. But myself and Chris still kind of were very mindful to try and keep momentum there, so we weren't starting it from scratch. So we did a live stream with United We Stream, and we did a independent one at the Carlton club. So we were still kind of bubbling along during the pandemic, even though we were a new night. So, we didn't have that kind of big following or anything at the time. And then we brought Kirby, Muddy Feet on board as well. And then more recently, we brought Ellie. So there's 4 of us now, as part of the night. And that takes us back up to date, really. We did 2 parties off the back of coming out of lockdown. Both of them sold out straight away. Got a party coming up in November with Justin Robertson, and that's just about sold out today. And now we're on with plans for 2022. We've got second birthday in January, and we've got a lineup we're just getting over the line for March, and we're already looking at May as well.
Amazing. Quite interesting what you said there. It's something that I've noticed a lot of DJs mention. There's a period where you become a bit jaded with the scene, you step back, and then there's always something that will pull you back in. There's sort of the story you've said there. I've seen that. We've had Chris on the podcast before. He's mentioned it. The other half of Son of Bangers, Guy, has mentioned the same thing as well. It seems that everyone sort of goes through that period, or it happens maybe a few times in a DJ's career where you sort of step back and then you're like, nah, actually, I still really want to do this. That's just really amazing. Everybody I speak to has like a similar story, which is always nice to hear. So yeah, as you've said, you've been back out and about on the town since the end of lockdown. You're at Carlton Club for a Sticky Heat event it was last week, wasn't it? With Pangolin and Elliot Lyon. And you've also played a few festivals, which must have been amazing. What's it been like? I don't want to go in heavy on the COVID chat or the pandemic chat, but what's it like just seeing crowds back out again and dancing after the 18 months we've had?
Well, I mean, with Sticky, we've been really kind of on the ball with COVID measures. We're not really scared or put off by making sure that we put measures in place. We're a night with a community-based ethos, really. So our number one priority, it's always been promoted that we're a safe space for anyone that comes to the night. But now with COVID as well, that's a factor we take into account as well. So the first party we did in July, when the announcement was made back in February of the so-called Freedom Day, when we were going to come out of it, and it was touted as being in June, I'd said to Chris, Ellie and Kirby, let's not do anything that weekend, because my gut feeling is that's not happening. Let's put something in the diary for like mid to end of July and just see how things are. And, it could be that, we're a few weeks in by that point. As it was, end of June got pushed back, and then we timed it perfectly because the week that we came out was the week of the first party. That first week was a bit of a strange one, because we there was no guidance for nightlife when we were coming out. It was just you can open your doors again. But myself and pretty much every other promoter were like, well, that just doesn't feel right. We've got to put something in place. So there was lots of promoters talking to each other that week, and what did we think we should do, and lots of should there be proof of vaccine on the door? But then we were all talking about saying, well, that doesn't actually stop it coming into the to the club. So there was a week of everyone, like all promoters, kind of acting as a bit of a community, really, and sharing ideas, and we came up with the idea of, lateral flow test on the day of the party, which seemed to be the most sensible thing to do because it was the best way of ensuring that people that were coming on the day weren't bringing the virus into the club. I think, we didn't hear of any reports at all from our first party back of anyone that caught COVID off the back of it. It was quite, it was strange though, because I think that first week, there was half the people were really like, I really want to get back out. I'm really looking forward to it. But then you could also see people a bit like, oh, I'm not, my head's not in the right place yet. And as it got closer to Saturday, we'd sold out well in advance. I think the July party, when we announced it back in March or April, I think it sold out in an hour, like really quick. Mm-hmm. But that week, I remember every post that we were doing to kind of remind people that, it was a cashless bar, the Carlton Club, and we needed people to take a lateral flow test. We saw more people then relisting tickets on Skiddle. And I remember like talking to the guys, I was like, I was getting worried at one point that would we just see, because it was a great unknown, would we just see that everyone that had bought tickets just then relisting their tickets because they just felt uncomfortable. As it was, it all just settled. There was, the party itself was brilliant. We did a boat party during the day and then a party in the Carlton Club that night. And it kind of all that stress and all that hard work from that first week seemed to all be worth it because everyone felt really safe. The COVID measures we put in with the lateral flow tests, everyone adhered to them. There was no one pushing it back or criticising it. We had Ellie on the door, who was just amazing and checking everyone's all going in. And we had loads of messages when we came back, following day for people saying that they really appreciated it, felt kind of really safe. For the party we did last weekend at the Carlton Club, we're like 2-3 months in now, so it's kind of second nature. So it felt fine. When I played at Camp Festival in end of July, I think it was, that was really good. They had lots of COVID measures there, and they were like every day we had to do a lateral flow test when we're on site as well. And before we got there, so no, it's been good. I think this winter's going to be a bit of an eye opener now, and I'm kind of hoping that people don't drop the guard down. And there is an air of anxiety with me in that I feel like there's just a mood of people thinking the pandemic is over, which it very much isn't, and it is still very much there. And I think for clubs to be able to keep on running long term and not finding that we get closed down again, I think we've still got to try and keep these keep some sort of measures in place and keep everyone that comes to our nights safe, really, because that's the most important thing. I don't think anyone starts a night with the idea that people will fall sick as a result of going. So I think we are, as a electronic community, be it promoters or people going to the club, have all got a responsibility to kind of do the right thing for each other.
Yeah, I've noticed it as well. We went to the New Order Hot Chip event last week, and we were struggling to get sell our spare tickets. My girlfriend bought 4, maybe like last year at the start of the year, just because we wanted to go. So I still think there's that sort of, some people are very happy to go out. It's back to normal for them. But like, we went to Homo Electric after, and again, there was probably more resale tickets going up. And I think it's just people finding out what they're comfortable with. But I think it's still just sort of walking that tightrope at the moment. And it just, I think a lot of people are very aware that we're not out of the pandemic yet, and whatever works best for you is best. But yeah, lateral flows on the day, I think, is the best way to go about it. One quick fire round as well. I always like to throw them in. Top 3 sets you've played since July the 19th. And why, if you've done as many as 3, or events you've run or sets you've done, what would they be?
All right, so reverse order. Well, not reverse, no order really. So it's easy. The last 2 stick heat parties we did like I said, the first one coming out of lockdown, which was a really special one. We did the boat party during the day and then back at the college school that night. But that was just felt like everyone that was there it felt like a big release, and people, all our crowd that were there, people that hadn't seen each other properly in forever. And like I said, when Kirby dropped the first record, she did the first dance, that was like a really special moment. Last weekend, the Carlton Club again, it felt a bit more comfortable. We were really, last Saturday, we were really worried because, we are, we've listened to a lot of what people said during the pandemic, and there's been so much talk about focusing more on local talent and residents and less on big A-listers. So we were like, right, we're gonna do what people said. So we our last two parties were based around some of the best DJs in Manchester who aren't necessarily on every lineup. And like I say, both parties sold out super quick. But then, like you said before about nights getting rearranged and things moving, we found on the Saturday that we were running last week, we then had Repercussion that announced something. Home Electric was on.
Yeah.
There was stuff on Hidden. And I was like, what's is it all the heavyweights were kind of coming back, and I was during the week I was worried like would we have a knock-on effect of that, but numbers were absolutely great. If anything, it was busier than July, and it kind of again just a really good atmosphere in there. And Camp Festival really, it was great to be playing at a festival again, but because Camp Festival is aimed at families, I could take my wife and my daughter came with me as well, so I was playing in the Bollywood tent on the Sunday, and my daughter was in the DJ booth with me, so I think that'll be a moment that I'll take with me for a long time.
That's really lovely. And that brings us on really well to the next part of the podcast, where we are going to talk all about promoting, producing and parenting. And that's the image there, isn't it? You in the DJ booth with the kids. That's lovely. When you first became a parent, what was the thought process in regards to DJing? You sort of said you'd already taken some time away. Did you initially think that, maybe like the DJing part of your life was over? Did you have like these grand ambitions of like jet setting around the world as like a superstar DJ when you were younger, or had you already achieved everything you wanted to with like the DJing part of your life? And did you sort of think, well, that's done now, but then how did it start sort of creeping back in? I think you mentioned it when we sort of talked through like your DJ history, but maybe you could go into a bit more detail about how it started coming back.
Yeah, I mean, when I took a break, it was a never say never. I just decided at the time I just kind of wanted to just take a step away. I've never really had ambitions of being a A-lister and flying all over. I just kind of wanted to. My reason for DJing was always just a love of sharing the music I'm really into. So I've never really had any ambitions of just trying to create my own thing and seeing where it goes, really. So that first couple of years when my daughter was really young, we were just kind of settling in and getting our head around everything. Then we left Manchester and moved to Widnes a little bit, just to get out of the city sort of thing. We just wanted to go somewhere, move somewhere a little bit bigger and a little bit quieter sort of thing, like I say. And the house that we were in was, bigger than what we were before. So there was a room within our house where I could create a little studio. So before I'd approached Hattie about going to Girls on Film, I'd already kind of started building a little kind of studio at home and started DJing again. So that kind of bug was coming back. I think in our house, my wife runs a dance school and I DJ and stuff, and we both very much feel quite strongly that you need to have hobbies as well. You can't just be working during the day and then full-time parent as well. It's not healthy to not have hobbies and interests as well. So I've always kind of supported my wife with the dance school, and she's always supported me to start DJing again. So yeah, the thing was sticky. It kind of snowballed from just starting to do like once or twice a month Girls on Film to then getting approached to do kind of more bar gigs as well. So then I started doing a few more of them, and then got approached to join Lost in Music. So then I started going from there. And then it was when I had the conversation with my wife about, is there a way that I can look to maybe do my own thing whilst not, potentially throwing loads of money away that we need as a family? And like I say, she said earlier that, why don't you just use the money you're earning from doing all these bar gigs and everything and put it to one side. So it kind of created a bit of a business model for me there. I was like, actually, I can see how this could work now, really. Actually, we have a bit of a kind of a rule at home where, you'll never see me doing like loads of gigs a weekend, although I am doing 2 today, but it's a bit of a rarity. I'd normally do maybe 3 or 4 gigs a month and no more than 1 gig at a weekend. And, we're pretty good in the house where me having a late night from DJing does not affect us at home at all. If I'm tired, I don't shout. I've still got a big full of beans and running around and doing stuff for my daughter, so, which is all good anyway, because, we do a lot of stuff together and go running and swimming and doing all sorts of stuff as well. So it's never been a problem. So it's fine. Like I said, I think it works well. I think as a parent now, You know, I don't, you know, I'm not a big drinker. I don't go out partying until like the early morning sort of thing. You know, I'm not in my 20s anymore. So there probably is that. I probably don't calm down in that respect, but it's probably meant that I've got a clearer head with juggling everything that I've got to do and having a clearer head as to, you know, what I want to do with Sticky Heat as well.
Amazing. Yeah, that actually brings me on to the next question really well. You know, about running a night. You know, for me, at the end, one of the biggest things I realized as I started getting older is like running a night at the end of the day, although you don't like to say it, but it is essentially a business. And then when you sort of view it as a business, it helps, you know, you separate it from maybe like the lifestyle aspects of being a DJ, you know, like the late nights and parties, as you just mentioned. So do you have a new perspective on event management, you know, now that you're a bit older, now that you know, have a child as well? It's not necessarily like this sort of like lifestyle DJ thing. It's more, you know, this is sort of like my hobby and this passion project that I curate. How was like having a child sort of change that for you?
Yeah, I guess when I did Show No Shame when I was like in my 20s, that was that was a labour of love. Probably was really naive, and we lost so much money, and we're, you know, just, you know, for kind of early 20s, you know, guys just kind of putting parties on and just with no real kind of long-term plan how to do it. I think now I've got Karina, my time is really precious. You know, any time I'm spending away from my family's got to be worth it.
Yeah.
So although in the sense that yeah, I guess you kind of got to say use it as a business, so to speak. I'd say it's more I'd probably don't describe it as a business, but it's more about making it sustainable. So it's how do I make it so I'm not, you know, so I make enough money from it so that it then goes back into the night and it's reinvested. But it's just about being planned out. I've got a really good team that I work with. So I've got Chris, Massive, I've got Kirby, Muddy Feet, I've got Ellie as well. So we're all very kind of like-minded as well. We all bounce off each other. And you're right. I you know, if I was ever to kind of finding that I was hemorrhaging money from doing Sticky Heat, I'd probably kind of have to revise what I'm doing and, you know, look at the priorities and stuff. But as it is, I've just got a clear plan, a clear, you know, don't like using business model, but I've got a clear model as to how it works. And I do these, you know, gigs outside of Sticky Heat, which funds putting the parties on. We've been very fortunate that every party we've done so far is sold out. So we haven't had a night yet where I've lost money, touch wood, that kind of long continues. But yeah, you kind of, when you've got a family and you've got a daughter at home, you just kind of just don't have time really. You don't have time for bad gigs. So I turn down more gigs as well. You know, if a gig doesn't sound right or feel right, I'd rather not do it than spend time away from my family. Any gig that I do has to be worth it. And yeah, you just kind of, your priorities are different. Your priority isn't just you anymore. It's, you know, it's balancing you having your interests, but in line with also making sure you're there for your family as well.
Amazing. And how have you found like the time management aspect of promoting? So I've recently, obviously the All My Friends blog has been going for 3 years. I used to run a club night back in 2013-14, lasted, again, we had no idea what we were doing. It was called I Feel Love. It was a disco night, some good nights, but it was like a sort of how not to run a club night sort of thing. But I found that like the process of running nights both really stressful, but also at the same time, there's a lot of time when you're not really doing anything. You know, you book your venue, you book your acts, and then a lot of it is just refreshing schedule, and that's quite stressful in itself. But how have you found like managing a club night, and like what tips do you have for like maximizing your time when, you know, you're sort of doing the event and then you have a normal job and then you know a family time as well? What tips would you give other people in the same position as you?
Well, I think, I mean, we do our parties every 2 or 3 months, so we're not week after week. So I think if I was doing a weekly thing, I think the conversation would be quite different, because you are just you're churning out parties, so it does become a full-time job, so to speak. But ours are every 2 or 3 months. You know, by day I work in PR and comms and events as well. So it's what I do as a job as well. So, you know, I'm very well organized, very well planned out. Like I said, we're already planning well into like 2022 already. So because we're quite planned out, and we've got our venue already sorted, and we've got our dates already sorted, and we're already booking DJs now well into next year. It hasn't been a massive drain on time really, because we've got so much time between parties that, and we work very well as a team as well. So there's never been a period where it seemed to take up loads of, obviously the weekend of a party, in particular, the day of it is kind of, quite full on day, but the rest of it really all seems slot in. Me and Chris bounce off each other and work really well together as well. I mean, Chris, even before we did Sticky Heat with him, I mean, he's been in Manchester for so long, and I think he's like one of the best promoters as well. So I've kind of got one of the best working alongside me as well. So we do bounce off each other a lot. We share a lot. It doesn't feel that everything is on my shoulders. Kirby and Ellie also help out as well, and we're constantly talking to each other. I'd say with tips or advice, it'd be, from my own personal experience, don't do it yourself. It's a hard thing to kind of have a night that you want to do and then be the only person involved in it, because you're the only person amplifying and getting that word out, and all that work is on your shoulders. I'd also say kind of make sure you know what you're doing it for as well. I do say it's quite a lot that, Sticky isn't there to make up the numbers. We don't want to copy what other nights are doing, and we certainly don't want to be a night that's just booking the same DJs that you see in Manchester all the time. Our vision is very much we book those acts that have either never played in Manchester before or play very rarely. So I think it's really important that anyone starting a night needs to have a clear vision as to what to do. If you're looking at another night and you think you want to emulate what they do, well, probably don't. There's a reason why they're doing really well, but there's no real demand or call for someone to do a version of that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I take, I've been influenced by other nights, like see how other nights like Homo Electric or High Hoops, how they operate and what they do. And I take inspiration from them, but I certainly don't look at any other night and want to copy what they're doing or emulate what they're doing. I'm very much kind of want to have my own vision and my own acts that I bring over. Brilliant.
Cool. I find a partner then, because I'm currently running the All My Friends nights on my own. This has been a really good chat today. Thanks for coming on the podcast. The Sticky Heat programming, as you've mentioned, has been done for 2021, but you're already looking towards 2022. Are you eyeing up any acts for next year you could tell us a bit about yet? Are you still in like the planning phases?
I can't release anything as of yet. We've got Justin Robertson coming up in November, but we don't want to announce anything just yet. We've pretty much there for the second birthday. And we're having a few conversations for March and for May, but nothing that I'd really want to. I'd just say watch the space. But the acts that we're lining up haven't played in Manchester in quite a long time.
And I saw your social media post the other day as well about you're asking your community to suggest DJs as well. Have you had some good suggestions from there? I mean, you don't have to tell us names, but
there was some strong ones that came from there. There was some as well that we've already been making inquiries with. So it was quite good, really, that some of the names that people were suggesting or some of the names that we'd already been talking about, amongst ourselves as well. But because we pride ourselves on that it is a community night. So it's all about the people who come to the night. We kind of were like, well, really, we need to kind of get an idea who people want to see as well. And, it's not necessarily just the four of us are going to come up with like really strong, there might be an act that someone suggests that just wasn't on our radar. So there was some good ones there. There's some conversations that are happening with DJs and agents off the back of that thread, but I can't say any more at the moment.
Hey, build up the hype, man. And very finally, are you playing anywhere this side of New Year that we can maybe get down to or check out? Anything that maybe not Sticky Heat related, just bar gigs that you're on that we could catch you out of?
You can still catch me at the Refuge. I'm literally, once we finish this chat now, I'm driving over to Manchester to play at their 5th birthday today with Andrew Trout, Unabombers, Lil Minx and Chris. I play every other week in Liverpool at Albert Schenk. And they're the main ones at the moment. There's a few little things bubbling under, but nothing confirmed as of yet. Cool. Obviously, if anyone wants me to come and play for them, just drop me a little message.
Yeah, brilliant. And we'll add all the Sticky Heat social medias to the show notes that go along with the show. And I've done it again. I've completely forgot to ask people to like and subscribe to the show. You should do it at the beginning, Liam, not at the very end. But like and subscribe if you've enjoyed the show. And Marco, thank you so much for coming on.
No problem. It's a pleasure. Take care.
At the Refuge. Catch you later.
See you later. Bye. See you later.